Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and the Bright Life podcast. My name is Jessica Johnson, and today I'm so excited to share with you for any of you who are dreaming of starting a podcast or writing a book or launching your business, but you have those thoughts of, am I ready? Do I know enough yet? We're going to talk about that today, and we're going to tell you why you are absolutely ready, even if you are right now wondering, do you need another course, another program, or certification? Does one more person need to give you a testimonial, or do you need another practice client before you really go for your dreams? Let's talk about it. Let's dive in because this is something that so many big-hearted women face, and I think that it's doing a disservice if you are sitting there right now with a message that could help someone else, with something that you're passionate about, that could bring more joy to you, that could bring more joy even back to your family, that could create more resources in your life. If you are sitting on an idea because you are waiting for that confirmation that you're ready, we are all missing out on you and the way that you can help the world and also contribute and bring such a meaningful difference to yourself, your own life, your families, your communities, all the things. All right. So let's talk about a few things that helped me when I was also in that phase of holding back, like wanting to start, but just constantly looking for the next course or the next thing I could pay for, the next strategy to feel like I finally got it. In my book, Your Bright Life, I talk about how when my husband and I were digital nomads, we would carry a carry-on suitcase each when we traveled the world. And when you have a carry-on suitcase, your space is very limited. You don't have a ton of room to pack everything you possibly want. And so despite that, I would always make room for a big podcast microphone, just waiting for the day that I would be ready to launch my podcast to the world. I was so scared to do it. So I would give up on a bonus sweater or a few extra shirts or whatever else I could have fit in that space because I just was waiting for that feeling of feeling ready. And I don't want that to be you, and it doesn't have to be a carry-on suitcase or a podcast microphone, a big blue Yeti mic that you're carrying everywhere, but you might have some version of this in your own life. Like maybe you have actually recorded the first episode of a podcast, yet you haven't hit publish and it's been months and months. Or maybe you have planned out every scenario of the business that you want to start, but you just keep waiting for that feeling of like, one day I'll feel like it's finally time. Or maybe you've had a draft of a book written or an idea even for a book, and you still haven't actually gotten the editor, gotten the publisher, gotten it out into the world. Do you know how rare it is to even get an idea for something that is special? Like, I remember before I wrote my book, just wanting the idea for it. I wanted to be an author, but I didn't know what to actually write about. So for you to have an idea is such a special gift that we do not want to waste. All right, so with all of that out of the way, let's talk about reframe number 1 for why you absolutely are ready right now. The first thing to think about is that you only need to be a few steps ahead of who you want to serve to make a massive difference in their life. I think so many of us, we are well-intentioned and we want to put forth really good work into the world. So we feel like we need to be the foremost expert on something before we ever share at all, before we ever take someone's money to help them with a product or service, before we go speak on a stage, before we write the book, start the podcast. But the truth is, you don't need to be the world's #1 top expert to make a real tangible difference in someone's life. Now, think about an example in your own life. Let's use something like business. If you're thinking about starting a business, you don't need Tony Robbins to come and help you get your business off the ground. You absolutely can, and I'm sure it would be amazing, but you likely need someone who has started a business herself, right? Who knows what it takes, who knows the things you need to look for, who knows what you need to have set up or not, and can tell you what's a waste of time, what helped her the most, when she started finally seeing income come in. That's what could really help you. And so if you think about that, no matter what your example is, you might be waiting until you feel like Tony Robbins or one of the other experts in your space But there could be people that you've actually gone through the steps that they're still looking to figure out, and you can help them and make a difference. As another example, let's say that you want to start an interior design business. Amazing. I would love help with interior design from someone who just knows like a few tips and tricks. Because for me, I'm one of those people, maybe you are too, where you can like have an idea of what you like or what you want a space to look like, but the execution part is hard. Like, maybe you order a million different things and they're never quite exactly what you picture them to look like from the online picture. So you're sending them back, or you just feel like it's never quite that like zhuzh or finesse that someone with a professional eye could really add to a space. That is a perfect example. I do not need to hire Marie Kondo or someone else who's like this amazing, person when it comes to space and interior design. I know she does more like organization, but that's the whole point. I don't even know the world's foremost expert in interior design. But I do know that one of you listening is actually really good at it. And you could help me, you could help someone else, you could help all the women, and I'm sure there's thousands or maybe millions of us who really just want a few pointers to get further than where they could get on their own. And so I would love to work with someone like that. I would love to pay you for your expertise. And I know there are other women out there who would as well. So if you have been holding back thinking, I've got to know everything before I can help someone, really question that thought, because the truth is you can help someone so much just by showing them how to get to their next step. Let someone else take the torch. Let someone else then become the next expert for the next season of their life, but don't deny yourself the ability to help in the way that you uniquely can for wherever someone is at right now and whatever way it touches your heart. That's there for a reason, I really think, and it will make a massive difference. So don't let that stop you and get going. A second reframe that I want to share is you can make every quality neutral or better. So if you have any quality about yourself that you are blaming for holding yourself back, maybe you feel like you're really disorganized or you're messy or you don't finish things, or who knows, right? We all have things. We all have quirks. We all have imperfections. We're all human. Whatever that thing is that's maybe making you feel like you're not ready to get started yet, whatever you're disqualifying yourself because of, I want you to make that thing a neutral or better. So I have a friend in business named Julia Wells, and she is an amazing example of this. We all started our businesses around the time when it was the hustle, Gary Vee culture of like, go, 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 push as hard as you can. If you're sleeping, you're doing it wrong. Someone else is awake. And, that was fun for a while, but I think a lot of us experienced some burnout from that. A lot of us probably were chasing ways of doing things that didn't feel 100% true or just long-term sustainable for us. And so Julia went the other way, and she thought, I like to be a little bit like less intense. I like to be messy if I want to be. I like to sleep in if I want to be. I'm not the checklist girl. And so instead of making herself wrong for that, and instead of saying, I can't start a business because I'm not like these other people, she fully embraced it. And she made herself so just like magnetic on social media because you would see the real takes. You'd see her eating takeout in her bed. You'd see her doing the launches for her programs messy. You'd hear her recording her podcast episodes with stuff going on in the background because she was on a walk, and that's when she felt like her ideas would flow best. So she ended up attracting and building such a passionate audience and making millions of dollars because there was actually a whole group of women out there who were obsessed with being able to let go of the hustle culture and do something a little more organically and a little less intensely. And so she made it her whole business and brand to be like, this is how I do it. And by the way, you can too. So all those things that were flaws, depending on who you talk to, she made neutral or better. She made things that really worked to her advantage and sold her and made her people fall in love with her. And you can too. So I encourage you to think about, what are those things that I am blaming myself for, that I'm making myself wrong for? What qualities don't I like about myself? And look at them with fresh eyes and through the lens of, these are the exact things that someone else is going to really be obsessed with you because of. These are the things that are going to make you so relatable and so human to people. I think we're all getting so tired of and just seeing through the polished trend of like people presenting something on social media that's like not the real story at all. And so how refreshing if you can be like, I cannot put up the front, but here's who I really am. You're going to draw those people to you, just like Julia did. And so that's my second question to you for a reframe is, what flaws, quirks, or imperfections could you make a neutral or better so you can be ready to get started right now? All right? Okay, so you have the first one, which is you only need to be a few steps of who you want, a few steps ahead of who you want to serve. You have the second one, which is make your flaws a neutral or better. You're ready. Get out there just as you are. And then you have the third thing that I'd love to offer you, which is, where did that belief come from? Where did you learn that you weren't enough? Where did you learn that you weren't ready? Is that something that you inherited from someone in your family? Is that something that was passed down to you through teachers grading you or giving you feedback in a certain way? Is there someone in your life now that gives you that feeling or directly says things about you not being enough or not being qualified and not being ready? You don't always have a source for these things that you can pinpoint, but to me, it's just helpful to hear and think about, where is the little girl inside that learned that she had to be perfect to be ready? Where's the girl that learned that she had to keep always seeking more outside of herself to finally feel like she would be qualified? And it can just be such a nice, tender way of supporting yourself and unwinding some of those stories that maybe you never meant to have as yours. Maybe you never meant to inherit. And what I always do when I find a possibility of where something could have come from is I just think, as the adult self that I am now, what else could be true? So maybe I learned that I had to be that way somewhere along my path. Well, what else could be true going forward? And what do I want to now lovingly offer myself as someone who can give me a new frame and a new perspective and a new teaching about how I exist in the world? So first, just think about, where did I learn that? Maybe you want to just journal on it. Maybe you want to give even just some love and acknowledgement to the person that's had to hold that on her shoulders all these years without even maybe realizing it. And then what else could be true going forward for the next half of your life? And it's kind of like blessing your new endeavor with that energy. Like, what do you want to be the new truth for yourself when you start your podcast or your business or write your book? And what's the new frame you're going to operate from? It feels so empowering to choose that instead of just constantly fighting this voice in your head that's telling you these things that you're like, I don't feel like those are true, but why do they feel so true? All right, so that's number 3 is where did that belief come from and what else could be true? And then the last piece is, if I had the belief that I was enough and I was qualified already right now, what would I do? Okay, so if you're holding back, if you're scared, and again, no shame, we all have these things. I have them, so many of us do. It's big to want to put something vulnerable and heartfelt out into the world. You care about it, and that's why you're scared. But if you had the belief that you were enough, that you were ready, that you were qualified, what would you do? What would you start today? What would you put out there? And sometimes that can help you cut through the clutter and the voices in your head that may be saying, but, and just instead say, okay, but if I was ready, what would I be doing in my life? How would I be showing up? What thoughts would I be thinking? And what that does is it takes you from where you're at now, which is holding back and playing small and feeling scared, and it makes this bridge to the person you will become when you have that podcast or that book or that business. Because she has gotten over those fears. She has crossed the bridge and she has become someone who feels that she is enough and she is qualified and she is ready. And so if you can start to think, well, what actions would she be taking? What would she be thinking? How would she be showing up? It helps you see the exact steps you need to take to become her and to become the person with that business or book or art studio or whatever it is for you. Okay, so just think about that. Yes, you can have all the fears, but if you did, have the belief that you were ready and you could do it and people were going to get massive value from you exactly with what you know now, what would you do? And those are your next steps, all right? So those are the things that really help me when it comes to feeling unqualified, feeling not enough. I'll give the caveat, of course, there are certain things you do need a massive amount of training for, and I am obviously not suggesting that you go become a surgeon if you just feel like you need to get the vibes higher, right? We know that though, but there, the internet's a weird place. Sometimes you get some funny comments. So, but for the vast majority, I think with women, we want to do such good work. We want to help people. We want to make a difference. If we accept someone's money, we want to give them the best service or product that we possibly can. And so I would really think about who are you a few steps ahead of that you know you can serve, that you know that you can connect the dots for them to get them to their next season. What can you make a neutral or better? Our point number 2. The third one is, where did that even come from? And what do you want to choose going forward? And then lastly, if you had the belief you were ready and you were enough, what would you do? All right? So that's today's episode. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, leave a comment. I will drop some links below for a free workbook to help guide you to your passion, your purpose, your next brilliant business idea. And I cannot wait to see what you create when you lead with the belief that you are ready and it's your time to get out there and to make the difference you're here to make. I really believe that, and I cannot wait to be one of the people on the other side of the magic that you create.